The top section is going to be our patient information. This will have all the patient name, the date of birth, the sex, the patient ID, and the physician. This middle section is our dose information for our capsule, the activity of the dose, the date of the calibration, and the calibration time. The calibration time would either be referenced off of the label, or if you're to measure in a dose calibrator, and this is based on the 24-hour clock. The tech ID is usually the tech initials, and the probe distance and counting time are set from our previous settings. Once we have the settings now in the system, we can click on Done. And now we can add a patient to do our study again, or we can go ahead and then click and do the patient. To count the patient, we want to highlight the name, count the patient dose, and we're going to click Start Procedure. And the first portion is going to ask, is this the correct patient? If it is the correct patient, you click on Yes. And now we're going to do a background, remove all sources. So we're going to do a room background and remove any sources that might be in the area. Click OK. And then we will count for 1 minute for the room background. Phantom. You will grab your Phantom. Take out your holder, get the capsule and slide it into the capsule holder. Or if you prefer to keep the capsule in the container, you can place it into this centering into the neck phantom. And you want to make sure that the lines are cross in both directions and line up, and position it where you want to measure your capsule. So when we have the capsule lined up, in this case, we're going to lay it on the table, down, and aim for our center point. So our goal is to get the line of our pointer rod directly in the center of that cross. Once we have the capsule lined up, we're going to loosen our screw and remove the pointer rod out of the way. This will prevent any attenuation with the capsule measurement being attenuated by the pointer rod. Once we have that lined up, we can perform our count. So once we have our capsule lined up, we're going to click OK and perform the count for 60 seconds. Once the capsule count's completed, we're going to accept the measurement, and we're going to measure a second repetition for this protocol. Then after we measure the second repetition, we'll accept that, and now we can exit the uptake screen. Once we exit, we have the option to administer the dose to the patient. Once you're ready to administer the dose to the patient, you click on that option, and you can click on Administer Now, which automatically creates the date and time currently on the PC. Once you have that, you click on Done, and then it will tell you the activity that was physically measured or administered to the patient. Once this is done, the patient will come back for their 4-hour, 24-hour, or 6-hour, depending on the protocol set up for your facility. In this case, it's going to be a 4-hour uptake. So we'll exit and wait for the patient to come back for their 4-hour. The patients came back for their 4-hour study, so you go into thyroid uptake. Select the patient we're going to do the study for, and selecting the patient is the highlight in the name. So we're going to count select the patient, start procedure, and it's going to ask if that's the correct patient. If that is, you say yes. And we're going to measure the patient background at first repetition. So we're to position this, center it up, and get it back to our patient's thigh. Once we have our measurement lined up, we'll move the pointer to the side, and now we're ready to begin our background count. Click OK. and we'll count the patient background for 1 minute. We'll then accept the background, and now we're going to measure a second repetition. After the second background is completed, we'll accept that measurement, and now we're going to measure our patient's neck at the first repetition. Once again, you want to line up the pointer rod so it's in the center. You should feel like a little click indicating that it's centered to line up to our patient neck. Once you have that lined up to your patient's neck, loosen that screw again out of the way so there's no attenuation again, and then we can perform the count. We're going to say OK. The system will count for its 1 minute. Once our minute is completed, we're going to accept our measurement and perform a second repetition. Once our second repetition is completed and we accept it, the system will give us our uptake result. So now, once our uptake result is available, if we exit our screen, we can then view a report for that patient by simply clicking on report and viewing the report for the 4-hour uptake. And as you see, it was a 0% uptake, and that's outside of our normal expected values. But typically you would see for a normal patient your results to fall into those percentages. For a 24-hour study, you would just repeat the process, and that would complete the study for the patient.